Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Figuring It Out. And today I want to talk about traveling with our smartphones and essentially digitally traveling. So, obviously, our phones we carry everywhere with us. That's in normal day to day life, not just when we go abroad. They are a part of our normal life and they do everything for us. And they're actually a very useful tool, but also they can be a bit of a hindrance and they can stop us from really being able to live in the real world. We often sit there, and any little bit of time we have, we'll just sit down and look at a screen. There's so much distraction that can come from a phone, and it's so hard not to pull into that distraction because phones really do give you that dopamine hit. And when it comes to traveling as well, I know personally, and for pretty much everyone, my phone just does everything. Like, I will book the flights on my phone, I'll book the hotel, hostel on my phone. Everything will be on my phone. My flight ticket will be on my Apple Wallet. I know now even Ryanair actually in the last year or so have stopped doing paper tickets. So you actually have no choice but to have your ticket on your phone. And then even when you get to the new country, it's using your phone to navigate, using maps, using translate tools if you need them. Money. I know in a lot of countries, I use my phone to get the first of all an eSIM, but also for things like a travel card for that particular country, and then I can top up directly on my Apple Wallet straight from Apple Pay. And I mean that's amazing, and it's like something that you can do straight away. But it also pulls time away from the actual experience of being able to get to a new country and actually maybe get a little bit lost or having to navigate things in a different way, which can be all part of the adventure and the experience. So yeah, there's it kind of goes two ways really. It's a really useful tool, but also yeah, when you do find that you're just sort of watching those sunsets through a screen, checking work emails that pop up at random times, and your phone's almost weighing you down, emotionally, physically, depending on how big your phone is, I guess. But yeah, and it's like constantly looking down. If you're walking along, you've got Google Maps open, and you're not looking up, you're looking down because you're seeing where that little dot's going, seeing if you're going in the right way. So the main purpose of this podcast episode is to basically kind of talk about how phones are improving life when you travel, but also ways they're possibly ruining it, and how we might be able to get a better balance to essentially ensure that we're using our phone as a tool, but it's not the ultimate thing that we use. And then maybe there's some ways we can go back to the old ways, back to the ways of maybe using paper maps, maybe using actual cash, which obviously in some countries you do still have to do that. But from my experience, from all the countries I've been to, the majority of them, 90% of them, I've never had to take out a single currency, never had to take out any euros, nothing like that, because it has literally been all on my phone. So to begin with, I want to talk about how it's improving travel. And it definitely is. I mean, the first thing I'd say is, as I said before, the booking process. It allows you to get better deals because they come through right to your phone. You might get an email saying, Ryanair have 20% off flights. You click on the link, you're one of the first to get the ticket. You can kind of time when you're going to buy it a little bit better because you know that these flights are on all different comparison websites. You can use apps for it. As I say, Ryanair, EasyJet, Trip.com, all of those. So it does actually allow you to get a really good deal. And I've literally been in another country. My trip's coming to an end, and I've thought, well, let's have a look on this app and see if I can maybe book a flight for another day. And obviously, you wouldn't do that in the old days when you walked into a travel agent and you just said, "Oh, can I book a holiday?" You know, you're actually able to do it yourself. You're able to save a lot of money by doing it yourself. A lot of these kind of trips you go on that all organized for you, they add a lot of money on for all these extra excursions and things. But when you do it all yourself, it is a hell of a lot cheaper. So I guess that's actually a positive, as well as a few tips for which I'm sure most people know about. Obviously booking on your phone, but kind of putting together an itinerary yourself using ChatGPT, AI tools like that, that helps as well. So rather than the old days when you might go into a travel agent, as I said, you know, you can use ChatGPT. It'll put together the itinerary. It will say, book this here, book this there, do this. You do that all on your phone and it's done. And you've probably got it for a hell of a lot cheaper than you'd get if you paid a middle person to do all that for you. And as I said about once you get to the country as well, maps is an absolute savior. I every time I go to a new country, I have to figure out how I'm going to get from the airport to my hotel or hostel, and often a taxi is going to cost me a lot. And as a budget traveler, I can't be splashing on taxis. I would say all the times I've been abroad, I've only ever got a handful of taxis. I utilize the public transport system as much as I can, and maps really helps with that because obviously you get there, you type in the destination, and it will give you all the options, whether that's a train, a bus, even a night bus if it's in the middle of the night. There's always a way to get somewhere, and with maps, that's going to tell you how to get there. And if you're turning up without a phone and you need to know where you're going, chances are you're going to hop straight in a taxi and you're going to be charged a lot. So maps really is a really good way of using your phone and utilizing it well while you travel. And also, I mentioned translation because when you get somewhere, you might see a menu or something which you just do not understand, especially if you're in parts of a country that maybe don't have as many English speaking people. I've been to parts of Spain, gone into like little cafes and things, and really struggled. Even trying to use a basic amount of Spanish, I can't do it. So this actually takes that away from that. You can literally use your phone and either speak into your phone and get it translated so you can tell that person what you want to say, or take a picture of the menu and get it translated straight away. That's a really useful tool, and it's helped me out in a lot of situations. And it's probably got me out of situations where I'd really struggle with the language barrier. So translation apps on your phone are really, really useful. And also just safety, really. So obviously having that phone on you, having access to emergency services, having a sort of thing in your pocket which can connect you straight to police, can it just also maybe telling family members where you are, things like that. It does keep you safe, and it is something that does make you feel a bit better when you travel, knowing that you have the kind of safety of the phone on you, which you're going to take with you everywhere. And it's just a bit of a lifeline, really. It's also social side of things. This is a big one, and I've talked about this a lot. Obviously, staying in hostels, the social side is great. So a lot of that actually does come from your phone. So it does come from using the Hostel World app. It also comes from organizing group chats on maybe Instagram. I mean, you can do these things in person, and often I do quite like it when it happens naturally in person. But it also means that often you can organize meets before you've even got to that country. So I've booked quite a lot of trips on Hostel World, and about a day or two before I've gone out there, I've actually looked on the group chat, and I've seen who's doing things, who's about, and I've either joined a group chat myself or I've made them myself. I've made a few on Instagram, and it's really helped to connect people and bring us together. And when you get into a new country, especially traveling solo, knowing that you're not walking into absolute uncertainty, and know you're walking in and knowing that there's someone staying in there that you already know, you've already spoken to on the Hostel World app, that's actually really reassuring. And as someone who's not super extroverted, that could really help, because if you are quite introverted and you go into a hostel, it's very easy, which would be going on to maybe how phones ruin things. It would be very easy to go into the hostel dorm and just sit there and stare at your phone all night, which I see a lot of people do in hostels, and that really shocks me. I don't know why you'd go to a whole nother country just to sit on your phone for the whole time you're there. But, maybe it's because someone's feeling introverted. Who knows? So, yeah, the social side has been sort of the best part, I would say. And obviously using social media, as I mentioned, Instagram, Hostel World, and that helps you make connections. And there's the kind of connections that you can come back to in months or years' times. I know I've had people on Instagram where I've happened to be in one country and they've also been in that country, and we've been able to meet up. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have stayed in touch with them. And I remember I didn't used to have Instagram for quite a long time. I just used WhatsApp, and if I ever met someone, I'd maybe try and get their WhatsApp number, but it doesn't quite work the same as Instagram, whereas Instagram is obviously, you do Instagram stories, you see people's posts, and that was one way that I actually managed to meet up with people who I'd previously met that I probably would have lost contact with, because during that time I didn't have Instagram. I went on a couple of solo trips, and I'm not really sure what those people are doing now, which I mean isn't necessarily such a bad thing. Sometimes it's, you meet someone, you get on well, and you're just not meant to see them again. But I do believe it's quite nice to have those people and to see what they're up to, and to just, especially when you've met people from all over the world, and they're doing different things, even if you do never see them again, it's just nice to see where life essentially has taken them. So for that reason, Instagram has been a really good travel tool, and I'd say that's a very big positive of traveling with a phone, as well as being able to take photos and videos. That's a really big positive. I think, capturing a memory is such a great thing to do, and I just think you look back on these, and in 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years time, you're going to look back on those memories, and you're going to have photographic proof that you were there, and videos and all sorts of things like that. And it's great that you do have this device in your hand that you can use to just take videos, take pictures, and have that memory that will live on for years times. I've got a whole bunch that I haven't actually looked at in quite a long time, but I think it'd be nice at some point to just have a look back and sort of reminisce on those photos and videos that I've taken over the years of traveling. Now, I would say they're probably the most of the things that have improved, traveling with a phone. Things that, as I said, like that you wouldn't be able to do that back in the day. This is stuff that, only sort of using smartphones in recent years and AI and stuff has actually allowed you to do. But this also comes with a bit of a caveat. It also comes with the chance the phone is actually ruining your experience. Now, a part of that kind of stems from the constant need to document everything. And this kind of sounds like I'm going against what I just said about the photos and videos, but there is a chance you can sort of take that a little bit too far. Now, I think I'm definitely one for taking lots of photos and videos when I go places, but I've sort of been guilty of trying to get that perfect photo and probably spending too much time getting it, and then thinking, okay, this could be the perfect shot maybe for Instagram, then getting another one, and then another one, and then that's not right. And it's kind of, rather than just sort of enjoying the moment, I almost feel like the moment's been taken over by me constantly needing to document everything I see. Like when I see something beautiful, I immediately want to take a picture. But you probably found often the picture is never as good, like not even a snippet of as good as the real thing. I mean, I've seen some amazing photographs on Instagram, and I like to think I've taken some quite nice ones too. But you know what? It's nothing compared to actually being there and seeing it with your own eyes. And obviously, seeing it through a screen whilst you're taking it isn't quite the same. Like I'm all for taking nice pictures, but it's, yeah, if you're spending like half an hour trying to get that perfect shot, then maybe you need to just stop and just take a second to fully appreciate it, appreciate the moment, appreciate the present, because that's a moment in time that's captured and frozen, and a moment you'll never get to go back to. So I think sometimes having the phone and needing to constantly document everything can actually ruin the experience rather than enhance it. And this also includes social media and comparison, because obviously using social media is a great tool. I use Instagram a lot. I enjoy posting on it. I've got a lot of friends I've met in different countries on there. But occasionally, you will find that you're traveling and you'll be in a lovely country, and then you look on Instagram and maybe someone else is in a slightly nicer country, or I might be somewhere in Europe, someone is in Australia, and I shouldn't feel like this, but sometimes you just do. You feel like, oh, actually, this trip isn't quite as good as I thought it'd be because someone else is doing a trip that's better. And obviously, rather than enjoying the trip and enjoying where you are, you're almost comparing yourself to, oh, well, I'm on this short trip. I wish I was on another trip. And, I've been on trips all over the world, but the trip that I'm on, no matter where it is, even if it's in the same country, even if it's just halfway down the road, I want to be able to enjoy that and not compare the trip to other people's trips. And obviously having social media in your hand and all of that comparison can allow you to feel like that and not fully appreciate and be grateful of the trip that you're on. And as I mentioned before, like about having work emails in your pocket, or just even personal emails, you do essentially have home in your pocket. And I find when I go away, I like to escape from the reality of home. I like to just be able to go somewhere and just appreciate a few days away from work, away from responsibilities, and just a chance to kind of enjoy life and just get away from that. And obviously, having your phone does mean that you still have that connection to life, really, life at home. That means work emails, personal emails, things that can definitely wait. And I've definitely found myself sat there in the past and thought, oh well, I'll just quickly do a bit of life admin. I've got a bit of time at the hostel. I'm just going to do some life admin. I'll be saving myself some time. Let me just do this. Let me just check this. Do you know what? It's not a good idea unless it's something that is really, really strict and needs to be done and can also be done in say under 5 minutes. Then by all means, just crack on and do it. But sometimes one thing can lead to two things, three things, four things, and suddenly, as soon as you're sat there looking down at your phone, you're sucked into that kind of back being at home. You can be sat on your bed on your phone. You're not looking up, you're looking down, and that really could ruin the experience, especially if you find that this one 5 minute task has ended up taking an hour, 2 hours, and you might be sat in a nice coffee shop in Italy, but you're sat there and you're doing what you would be doing if you were at home, and it's definitely bound to ruin the experience a little bit, or at least just like salt the experience, because you're back in that head zone, and the stresses and everything of real life come back. And I think a big point of traveling is to actually escape that for a little while. I'd also say that obviously, while your phone is a big lifeline, which is a great thing, it also means that if your phone was to die, or you lost it, or stolen, then you've lost a lot of important things. You've potentially your plane tickets, you've lost money, you've lost a lot of things. You've lost the ability to book taxis. You've like lost a lot of things in just one device, and that just means that it's going to be a struggle. And I can speak from personal experience. My story about Prague, I had my phone stolen. So I woke up in the middle of Prague without a phone, and it was actually pretty difficult to navigate. And this was back in 2018. And back then, the hostel I stayed in actually had a computer room. So I was kind of saved by that. But thinking about it, if they didn't have that computer room, I'd have struggled. Like maybe I could have used someone else's phone, but that would have been you're always logged onto your own things for all the apps and stuff. So that would have been really tricky. And to have everything on one device, just on your phone, it doesn't really feel very safe. I mean, before that, you would have tickets and things printed out. You would have lots of spare documentation, photocopies of documentation. You'd have cash. You could have some spare cash locked away. You could do a lot more to ensure that if one thing was to get lost or stolen, then you wouldn't lose everything. And maybe this is a good argument for backing up a lot of stuff, and maybe for printing things and stuff. But you lose your phone, you can essentially lose everything, and that's a big risk to rely on a small kind of 6-inch device. It's a very big risk on that. So it's something to think about, definitely. And also, even though I've spoke about the benefits of phone to be used to socialize, it can also be harder to socialize because you are sat on that phone, and it's a safety thing. The phone, you sit there at a hostel, you sit in a cafe, you sit somewhere, and it's so easy just to sit there and just look at your phone. I found myself using my phone almost as a way to like protect myself from feeling awkward and to feel like I have to be doing something. And I've sat there and I've just scrolled on the notes app, on the photos app, things I don't even need to do anything. Maybe I've got no signal, but I almost feel the need to use it as like a kind of safety thing to say, oh, I am doing something, I am busy, rather than just sitting there and maybe making small talk with someone or just appreciating the moment of silence. And that's something I think we've lost by using phones when we travel. We don't appreciate those moments anymore. We don't stop. I struggle to sort of stop for a couple of minutes when I travel and just not take my phone out and just sit and enjoy the scenery and the view, especially as a solo traveler. I really, really do struggle to do that. And that's something that I'm working on. But obviously, having a phone with me does make it a lot trickier, and not being able to leave my phone because I know I need it for something, maybe money for a ticket, does make that really hard. So this podcast wasn't intended to kind of give an overall, phones are amazing, phones are terrible. I think it's just to give an overall of kind of how phones can enhance travel, but also how they can make travel not as good and not as authentic as it one day kind of used to be. I think we should all enjoy using our phones. Our phones are amazing. As I said before, like they are a tool, and a tool that we should 100% utilize, especially when it comes to saving money, especially when it comes to safety. But we also need to use them with care and not unconsciously. And when I say unconsciously, that's if we're sitting on the tube in a new country, if we're sitting with a view in front of us, it could be anything. But if we're just unconsciously pulling it out of our pockets constantly whilst we're traveling, it really does take away that authenticity of a trip. And a couple of things that I'm definitely going to take forward after thinking about this and doing some research is, one of them is definitely that posting things on Instagram, it can wait. I've found, especially with Instagram stories, that I've been in that destination and I've had this urge where I just want to post what I've done straight away. But actually, it really can wait. Like, enjoy the moment and then post it later. Half the time difference means that a lot of people and my friends aren't even awake at that time. And even if they're not, it doesn't matter. Posting can wait. If you don't post that photo of the Eiffel Tower, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to blow up. Like, it's just, obviously enjoy it, take photos by all means, but I think having that urge to post straight away, it's not necessary. And also, just one photo is usually enough. One photo, two photos. It might not be perfect, but nothing in life is perfect. And I would argue that I'd prefer to have a trip that was fun, that was exciting, that was, and everything I wanted to be. And even if the photos aren't perfect, that's fine. The trip was perfect. Why does it matter if the photos aren't perfect? Unless we are there, specifically as a photographer, and we are just using our phones, then what should it matter? A bit of a blurry photo doesn't matter. It adds to it. And that just goes with enjoying the moments. We should enjoy the moments more and just be present. And I met a guy about a year ago, and we were chatting afterwards and talking about how much of a good time me and a lot of the other travelers that hung out had. And he sort of said that, he wishes that we'd taken more photos. And I agreed. I said, yeah, it's a shame, actually. It would be good to capture the memory. But we also said that, you know what, most of the time when you're really enjoying the moment, when you're really there, when you're really in the present, you just don't feel the need to pull your phone out. And that's the beauty of travel. You can spend a lot of time just enjoying the moment. And if you don't get that perfect photo, then never mind. You've gone on a trip. You've used your phone as a tool. And it's not the destination. It's just a tool that does what you need it to do. And the rest of the time, you can just live in the present and enjoy life. So that's what I've got for you today. And I hope you enjoyed it.